What if you woke up tomorrow morning, grabbed your phone, checked your bank app, and the screen just said, "Service unavailable." No error code. No explanation. Just nothing. You drive to the ATM. It's offline. You call your bank. The automated voice says, "We are currently experiencing a service disruption." And then you open the news. And that's when everything changes. Before we go any further, hit that like button right now and subscribe, because what I'm about to walk you through is something most people are completely unprepared for. This isn't a movie plot. This isn't a theory. This is a scenario that financial experts, military analysts, and government insiders have been quietly wargaming for years. So if you've never heard of this before, you need to stay until the very end. It's a regular Tuesday. People are at work. Kids are in school. Somewhere across the world, a missile is fired. Not at an empty field. Not as a warning shot. It lands. And within 6 hours, 3 NATO countries are on emergency military alert. By midnight, the President of the United States is in the Situation Room. By 3 a.m., markets in Asia start hemorrhaging. Tokyo, Seoul, Shanghai. The sell-off is violent and fast. Traders aren't even waiting for the opening bell in London or New York. They already know. When war starts knocking on the door of major economies, money runs. Now here's where it gets personal for every single one of you watching this. When panic hits financial markets at a scale this large, governments don't just sit back and watch. They act fast, sometimes too fast. And one of the first moves that gets made behind closed doors? Banks get told to pause. Not crash, not fail, just pause. Temporarily restrict access to capital. Prevent a full-scale bank run before it spirals out of control. This happened before. Not in some distant history book. It happened in Greece in 2015. ATMs were capped at €60 a day. It happened in Cyprus in 2013. Banks were physically shut for nearly 2 weeks. People couldn't access their own money, their own savings, money they worked years to build. Now imagine that happening, but not in a small Mediterranean country during a debt crisis. Imagine it happening in America, in the UK, in Australia, simultaneously, because here's what most people don't understand about the global banking system. It's connected, deeply, deeply connected. When you deposit money in your bank, that money doesn't just sit in a vault with your name on it. It's looped into a system that stretches across borders, across institutions, across continents. And when that system gets hit with the kind of shock that a major global conflict brings, the cracks don't appear one at a time. They appear everywhere, all at once. We've already seen the warning signs. Over the last 18 months, several major banks across the US and Europe have quietly updated their terms of service. Buried deep in the legal language, clauses that give them the right to delay or restrict withdrawals during times of extraordinary market conditions. Read that again. Extraordinary market conditions. What do you think qualifies as an extraordinary market condition? A global war starting overnight? I'd say that checks the box pretty easily. And while governments and banks have been quietly preparing for this scenario behind closed doors, the average person, they're still assuming everything is fine, still trusting that the system will protect them, still believing that what happened in Cyprus or Greece could never happen to them. That's exactly what people in Cyprus thought too. So let's talk about what actually happens hour by hour when banks shut down overnight during a global conflict. Hour 1. The news breaks. Social media explodes. Everyone's sharing the same clips, the same headlines, the same shaky footage from wherever the first strike happened. People are glued to their screens. Nobody's thinking about their bank account yet. They're in shock mode. That's normal. That's human. Hour 3. The first. Smart people start moving. Not panicking, moving. They're the ones who already had a plan. They've thought about this before. While everyone else is doom scrolling, they're quietly making calls, checking balances, thinking 3 steps ahead. Hour 6. The government makes an announcement. It's carefully worded, calm, reassuring. Something like, "We want to assure the public that the financial system remains stable and there is no cause for alarm." Here's the thing about that statement. Every single time a government has said those exact words in history, things were already not stable. Not even close. Hour 12. ATM lines start forming. Not everywhere, but enough. A few videos go viral of empty ATM screens and frustrated people standing in queues at midnight. That's all it takes. Because fear doesn't need to be rational. It just needs to spread faster than the facts. Hour 18. Banks in certain regions start implementing withdrawal limits. Again, not a collapse. Just a temporary measure. Just a precaution. Just something to maintain orderly access. The language is always soft. The reality is never soft. And by the time the sun comes up the next morning, the world looks completely different from how it looked 24 hours ago. Now I want to be straight with you here. I'm not telling you this to scare you into doing something irrational. I'm not telling you to pull everything out of your bank tomorrow morning and bury it in your backyard. That's not the point. The point is this: the people who come through situations like this relatively unscathed are never the ones who reacted in the moment. They're always the ones who thought about it before the moment arrived. Before the headlines. Before the lines at the ATM. Before the government announcement that was supposed to be reassuring but somehow made everything feel worse. What does being prepared actually look like? It looks like having some physical cash at home. Not a fortune. Just enough to cover a week or two of essentials: food, fuel, basic bills. Because if digital payments go down even for 48 hours, cash becomes king again almost instantly. It looks like having some of your savings diversified. Not all in one bank. Not all in one country if you have that option. Spread across different institutions so that one institution's problem doesn't become your entire problem. It looks like having a basic supply of food and water at home. Not a bunker. Not a survivalist compound. Just enough that if supply chains get disrupted for a few days, you're not desperate. You're just inconvenienced. Because there's a massive difference between being desperate and being inconvenienced. And that difference comes down entirely to preparation. The truth is, most governments have plans for this. Most major banks have plans for this. Most militaries have plans for this. The only people who don't have a plan are regular people who assumed they'd never need one. Don't be that person. If this video made you think, even for a second, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because the conversations we're having on this channel are only getting more important from here. Stay aware. Stay prepared. I'll see you in the next one.